Hey, morning.
Good morning.
So, today we had talked about, we had talked about like what are some resources that people can use and things like that. And one of my current favorite resources, especially for young children, is put out by My Fertility Matters project. And they have this educational program called the Cycle Show that's sort of geared towards adolescents, and it's like a in-person thing they do. And so they have a branch in Europe and they have a branch in the US, and they travel around and kind of do this live interactive presentation. And it's really cool. If any parents out there get a chance for their kids to participate in it, highly recommend it. But the European branch, basically the home branch of this that started the Cycle Show, they put recently, and I guess the last few years recently, put out an online version of the Cycle Show, and sort of it's like this interactive thing. And so it's free. It's this thing you can pull up on your computer in your home and talk to your kids about. And basically, it's sort of like this body literacy presentation about how babies are made that's in really accessible language for younger children and things like that. So we thought we would go through it today, and I don't know, just talk about it as we go along. And like we can talk about some of the things you might want to pause it and talk to your kids about along the way.
I'm excited because I haven't seen it yet, so it'll be good
Yay.
to.
Okay, so hopefully this will work okay. And let me share my screen with that one. Okay, so yeah, this is the web address up here. It's the My Fertility Matters project, or MFM project, uk.org/cycle show. So this is where I'm going to get here. And then that's what it looks like at the top. And so I have the main sort of presentation loaded up here. All right, so basically this just loads and it's really simple and accessible, and you just hit start.
This is the equation of life. It is the most important equation in the world because without it, none of us would be here.
And so when this came up, like, again, I sort of slow played it with my kids, and I'm like, okay, what are we seeing here? And like most of them, yeah, quickly figured out, okay, this is a baby. And they're like, but not really sure kind of what's going on right here.
What is that?
So yeah.
The
So
egg
then,
comes from the woman, contains half of
Yeah.
oops, I was just gonna say, so that's kind of nice because it is just a visual, and so your whatever age your kids are, you can choose what words you want to put where and label it. I know they're about to actually label them, but that's kind of nice because then no matter, I know some people get uneasy with like if they have an older kid and they have younger kids also. I think I heard it explained one time that your kids are usually going to know upwards. So, like if you have a 2-year-old and you have a 7-year-old, your 2-year-old is going to learn more at the 7-year-old's pace when it comes to body literacy than backwards, which is kind of a good thing. But what happens then is you go into a classroom of presumably 5-year-olds and you think, oh, well, my kid's not going to learn anything from a 5-year-old, but your 5-year-old may be the oldest and that 5-year-old may be the youngest of
Right.
four. And so they know more. And so, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
the building plan of a new human being.
So yeah, this one labels the egg, and you can talk about this is the egg right here. And I like it that it gives, like, even if a parent doesn't want to use this presentation with their kid, like it gives them sort of accessible language and how to talk about things.
Yeah.
Sperm, which comes from the man, contains the other half. The man's half includes the X or Y chromosome that determines if the baby will be a boy or a girl. When a man and a woman love each other very much, and when they want to have a baby together, they have sexual intercourse. The man's penis becomes stiff and slides into the woman's vagina. In a beautiful moment, ejaculation happens, and about 500 million sperm are deposited in the vagina of the woman. Click or tap on the sperm and egg to learn more about them.
So I will say, like, it's very plain language, and it just sort of plainly lays out like how that works. And honestly, I mean, I think just sort of letting it be and letting it like say it plainly like that, and then just waiting if your kid wants to ask more, fine. A lot of times they'll just sort of take that in and just be like, okay, all right. And then you can just wait for them to ask more questions about, you know, the specifics of, like, they just described sexual intercourse and we're like, okay, moving on. And so just let it be as information that's out there is my recommendation.
Yeah.
Boys only start producing sperm when they reach puberty, and they won't stop until they die. They produce around 1,000 sperm every second. Sperm are tiny, about 0.06 millimeters long, and can only be seen using a microscope. If unused, they are reabsorbed by the body. Girls are born with all their eggs, about 2 million already in their ovaries. This means before your mother was born, the egg that made you was already in her tiny body. The eggs are hibernating until they are needed. The number of eggs gradually decreases over time, so that by the start of puberty, a girl has about 200,000 eggs in each ovary, about 400,000 eggs in all.
So again, like, they give you a little bit of agency over which one to click. And so, like, during that point in the presentation, like, if you want to sort of invite opportunities for kids to talk, a lot of times you can be like, okay, which one should I click first? And so you can click the egg or the sperm first. It doesn't matter. It'll still go through the thing. And
Okay.
this is the little prompt to, okay, go to the next thing.
The equation of life takes place in the woman's body. About 500 million sperm arrive in the vagina of the woman during sexual intercourse. The sperm want to reach an egg. They need to travel from the vagina through the cervix and uterus to the far end of the fallopian tubes to see if an egg has arrived. If an egg is fertilized, the special guest will be cared for and protected for 9 months in the woman's uterus or womb, which is like a luxury hotel, providing everything it needs.
I have to say, I do really love, like, the sort of metaphor they use to tell the story, because it's really accessible, and, like, I don't know, I think a kid's imagination, it can really relate to how the metaphor they're going to kind of use for how everything works.
Yeah.
Click or tap on the diagram labels to learn more about the female reproductive system.
So interestingly, so I've taken obviously various courses in teaching fertility awareness, including like a teen fem course, which is not this. This is something different. This is geared towards kids even a little bit younger. But one of the things, especially fem emphasizes, is when they're teaching this like reproductive anatomy, they really like to start with the ovaries and kind of think about like the journey of an egg and a fertilized egg and kind of go out from there. So they would start here, go to the fallopian tube, uterus, cervix, vagina. But of course you can just, this interactive thing, you know, your kid can just tell you, you know, where do you want to start first? And so that sort of thing. But I'm going to start in the ovary. Maybe.
Treasure chest, where women store their eggs and produce special messenger substances called hormones.
And I think this, like, this is even like accessible language for an adult. Like, I don't think a lot of adults kind of get this stuff, like the, you know, a lot of times the narrative in our adult lives is that, oh, hormones are these things that make our lives terrible. Oh, hormones. And like, no, you need hormones. They're good. And like what they do is really messengers. Like they signal to other parts of the body to do things. And so I don't know, it's accessible language even for adults.
Definitely.
All right.
Luxury
I forgot the
hotel,
fallopian
a
tube.
safe
Sorry.
and cozy place with everything required for a new life to grow. Meeting place, where the sperm and egg meet. The gate of life, where cervical mucus is produced and traveling sperm can rest and gain energy. Grand entrance hall, the connection between the uterus and the outside world with an acidic environment to protect the body from bacteria.
Like myself as a fertility awareness educator, like I'm hearing like all of these little things that like most people I interact with like don't know, like the little bit about the acidic environment of the vagina to protect the rest of you, the meeting place over here, because this is if conception happens, it happens in the fallopian tube, like not in the uterus or anything like that. The cervix, like they had a brief mention about where sperm can sit and rest, and like a lot of people don't really know about that part of it. So yeah, I am very much liking this.
Sperm meet many obstacles on their journey. A woman's body is a direct path from the outside into the abdomen via the cervix, uterus, and fallopian tubes. Because of this, the vagina has an acidic environment, shown here as lemons and limes, to ward off bacteria and other invaders from entering. The sperm don't like it. To escape the vagina, sperm must pass through the cervix and into the uterus. But at the moment, we can see it is closed. A thick, sticky plug of mucus blocks the entrance to the uterus.
Again, super excited to see accurate portrayal of cervical mucus, and that cervical mucus both has a function in our infertile times in the cycle and our fertile times in the cycle. And like right now, the kind of cervical mucus that's being made is essentially making the woman infertile because blocking sperm from meeting the egg. You don't have to say that to your kid, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing that, like, you know, fertility awareness educator, you know,
sperm
excited to see.
Vagina within 30 minutes to 3 hours.
Again, nice little fact for parents to know also.
But if this happened every time, none of us would be here. The equation of life would not happen. So, what must change? Whenever we expect an important guest, we prepare for them, maybe bake a cake or tidy our room. So, what preparations does the woman's body make to help the equation of life become a reality? The cycle show begins when a message is sent by the brain to tell the body that a special guest, a new life, might arrive, and that preparations need to be made.
And again, like as a parent, also like just putting some body literacy language, like when they say message, that means a hormone. A hormone is sent from the brain to the ovaries, and it's like that's biologically what's happening. Kick off.
Eggs must be woken up, and if sperm arrive in the woman's body, they need permission to enter the gate of life and make their way towards the eggs. A chemical called follicle-stimulating hormone is sent with a wake-up message. This is shown here as blue flowers. Follicle-stimulating hormone travels via the bloodstream to both ovaries and delivers the message, "Wake up, little eggs, it's time to come to life."
And again, this is for little children, but for like parents watching, like this is very, you know, like while it's talking about FSH traveling through the bloodstream through the brain, like this is just sort of a fact of biology, but then we're also given a lot of messages like this idea of localized hormones and things like that. Like this is actually how it works, and localized hormones aren't really a thing. Like hormones go through the bloodstream and to talk to other parts of the body, so it's not really localized.
Yeah.
These messages wake the eggs up. We'll see this taking place in the next scene. As the eggs are delicate, a liquid-filled bubble known as a follicle grows around them, allowing them to develop in the ovaries without any disturbance. Follicle-stimulating hormone has finished its task once the eggs have woken up. Another hormone, called estrogen, now appears. The estrogen flows from the cover around the eggs. We have shown the estrogen as red hearts in our cycle show, because estrogen is a woman's best friend. The estrogen friends don't wait around to be asked to help. Instead, they separate themselves from the follicle and spread throughout the body via the bloodstream so that preparations can begin. Meanwhile, a secret vote takes place in the ovaries and a single queen follicle is chosen.
And again, this is lovely. It's biologically accurate because when FSH is launched, a number of follicles are recruited, releases estrogen, and then you have a dominant follicle, which the metaphor here is the queen follicle. So yes, very cool.
Only this follicle will get bigger, create more estrogen friends, and have the chance to take part in the great adventure of creating new life. Go ahead and select a follicle to be the queen.
This is a really adorable little interactive thing. Like, you know, they get to pick whichever one. Do you have a preference?
I don't.
Okay, we'll do this
The
one right
chosen
here.
follicle has grown larger and releases more estrogen into the bloodstream. The estrogen friends head to the uterus. Male and female fertility, the ability to have a baby, decreases with age. Move the slider above to find out more.
Okay, so did you know before birth, women are born with all of their eggs, but men are not born with their sperm? Yep. Let's see if I can.
Men produce sperm daily once they reach puberty. At puberty, women have around 400,000 eggs. There is a decline in female fertility starting in the mid-30s. Women's fertility will continue to decrease every year because the number and quality of the eggs decreases with age. Men's fertility starts to decline around age 40 to 45. The decrease in fertility is caused by the decrease in the number and quality of the sperm they produce. At menopause, women produce less estrogen and stop releasing eggs each cycle. So where do the estrogen friends go? First, they visit the uterus to bring the good news that an egg will soon be mature and ready to take the adventurous leap known as ovulation. There is a chance that a special guest may settle into the luxurious uterine hotel, so the estrogen friends start to build its foundations. If the equation of life is to become a reality, then the sperm must be allowed to enter the cervix. To make this possible, the estrogen friends cause the plug of mucus to be removed. The estrogen friends cause a magic potion to be made, known as cervical mucus. This provides nutrients to the sperm, gives them energy, and protects them from the acidic environment in the vagina.
And this again is lovely. It's accurate. Yeah, the estrogenic cervical mucus is basically what allows sperm to enter the uterus and to meet an egg. Like provide safe passage for sperm.
Sperm can live up to 5 days in the cervical mucus. The cervical mucus channels the sperm up the reproductive tract and filters out the unhealthy sperm, so only the best can progress.
Again, also accurate. Different kinds of cervical mucus. There is a type of cervical mucus that part of its job is to filter out unhealthy sperm.
Some sperm stay down in the cervix for a few days, while others move on quickly to the uterus. At the top of the uterus, on the left and right, lie the entrance to the fallopian tubes, which lead to the ovaries. But the sperm do not know which ovary the queen follicle is growing in. Only some sperm will choose the correct fallopian tube. So, from the millions of sperm that start the journey, only a few manage to get to the end of the fallopian tube, where an egg is likely to be waiting.
And interestingly, this is sort of an aside and not particularly related to when you talk to your kids, but I was having a conversation with a woman that was concerned about one of her fallopian tubes being blocked, but one of them wasn't. And I was like, well, you know, it only takes ovulation on one side to, you know,
Meanwhile,
conceive.
in the ovary, the queen follicle is now fully grown. The fallopian tube positions its finger-like ends over the place where the follicle bulges out of the ovary. When the follicle bursts, the egg is caught and slips into the funnel-shaped opening. The egg doesn't know yet what lies ahead. Will it meet a sperm, or will its life soon be over? Click on the queen follicle to release the egg. The estrogen friends have done their work now and take a well-earned rest. So, what happens when sperm meet the egg? Focus the microscope to observe fertilization taking place. The effort of each of the remaining sperm is important. They work together using the caps on their heads, called the acrosome, to break down the shell of the egg. Once the head of one sperm is in, no other sperm can enter. At this point, the two halves of the building plan come together. The sperm and egg fuse together and start the development of a new human being.
And I will say, I do like the life affirming language that this uses, and you know, it talks about a human being human at this point.
The equation of life is underway. At the beginning of your life, you were a double winner, the winning sperm and the chosen egg. You gained all the qualities that you are proud of, and maybe some that you don't like very much. You are completely unique. No one is quite like you. You are special.
I know, I think the language it uses right here, and like talking about like relating it back to the kids and thinking about, oh yeah, this was me, and oh yeah, that was me, and like and the talk about, yeah, you are a double winner.
Yeah, that's cute.
What about twins? How do we get identical and non-identical twins? Click or tap on the eggs to find out more. Identical twins happen when one egg and one sperm come together at fertilization. After the fertilized egg begins to grow, it divides into two. Each fertilized egg grows into a baby with the same building plan as the original egg and sperm. Hence, each baby will be the same sex and look identical.
And again, I think this is, I don't know, probably information that, you know, will be new to some parents. I encounter a lot of people that are unsure about this information as well. So
Non-identical twins happen when two queen follicles are chosen. Each egg is fertilized by a different sperm. The two people can be both girls or boys, or one of each, and will not look the same. Meanwhile, in the ovary, the empty follicle becomes the corpus luteum, or yellow body. It produces the hormone progesterone, shown here as a team of little yellow workers called the progesterone team. After ovulation, the connection between the moving egg and the body is lost, so the progesterone team doesn't know if the equation of life happened.
and this again is accurate. And so like when it's talking through, there is a time between basically ovulation, when roughly around the same time conception occurs, and there's a lag between when you have an outward sign that you can actually know if you're pregnant or not. So
They assume that the egg and sperm met, and that a new life is now on its way to the uterus. They travel around the woman's body via the bloodstream, preparing it for the arrival of the special guest. When the progesterone team arrives at the uterus, they prepare it with everything required to nurture the new life: sugar, proteins, vitamins, antibodies, and minerals.
my kids, they had a fun time joking about like the imagery here. They're like, oh yeah, wooden blocks. I'm sure that's in there. Yeah. So. Yeah, so just however your kids take it, just go with it and yeah, enjoy it.
At the cervix, the progesterone team makes sure that no more cervical mucus is produced, and that a thick, sticky plug of mucus seals the entrance to the uterus. The entrance of the cervix becomes smaller again, so the gate of life is firmly locked. This makes sure that the growing baby stays in the uterus. The baby needs milk soon after it is born. The development of the milk-producing mammary glands is a time-consuming process that lasts 9 months, so the progesterone team starts working in the breasts. Babies need to be kept warm, so the progesterone team goes to the control center in the brain and arranges for the woman's body temperature to raise by about 0.5 degrees centigrade.
Again, if for anyone's familiar with fertility awareness, charting your basal body temperature, like this is the progesterone change that you see roughly after ovulation. So
Final task is like the tiebreaker question in a quiz. The progesterone team travels in the bloodstream to the manager in the woman's brain. What do you think the progesterone team will say? Answer A. Hey, lazy manager, you should send fresh wake-up messengers to both the ovaries to make sure that new eggs are woken up. You should make an ovulation happen as soon as possible. Or answer B. No new wake-up messengers, please. There shouldn't be any eggs woken up now. There shouldn't be a new ovulation at all. Which do you think is correct? A or B?
and this one, I don't know, like as a fertility awareness educator, like I know which one this one is, but like I think for somebody who's sort of new to this, I'm not sure the answer is obvious. So I don't know.
I was just wondering, when you did this with your kids, did they guess right?
They did, but they couldn't articulate why they
Why?
they guessed one
Yeah.
over the other.
Like,
So
so the answer is B.
yes. Let's see.
Click or tap on A or B to choose your answer. Correct. This is called a shutdown agreement. The shutdown agreement makes sure that during this time, no other ovulation can take place until it is clear whether the egg and sperm have found each other.
And this, interestingly, like, I know this might seem a weird thing to bring up, but like, this is actually kind of a fundamental principle of why fertility awareness-based methods work for avoiding pregnancy. So once you identify ovulation has passed, then you know you are infertile for the remainder of the cycle until a new cycle starts.
Fertilized egg has grown and divided itself and is now an embryo, which nestles down in the uterine lining. Until now, the mother's body didn't know it was pregnant. As soon as the connection is made, the embryo sends the very first love letter to mummy.
Again, this is an adorable, like, metaphorical way to say this, but like accurate. Also, HCG is produced at implantation.
It's super
This is
cute.
a hormone, a messenger substance called human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG, and shows up if the mother uses a pregnancy test. So how does the cycle show end? There are two different final scenes. If the egg and sperm meet and merge together, a new life is created. Around 9 months later, the grand finale occurs and the baby is born. More commonly, however, the sperm don't show up and don't meet the egg. Estrogen friends and the progesterone team continue to prepare, but no new life arrives in the uterus. Eventually, it becomes clear to the corpus luteum that there was no fertilization in this cycle. The corpus luteum calls the progesterone team back from the places where they have been busy, and no shutdown agreement takes place. All the luxurious items prepared for the special guest flow out of the body with the blood: sugar, proteins, vitamins, antibodies, and minerals. This flow of blood out of the body is called the period or menstruation. This is a sign of a woman's health and strength. Her body is rich in resources, and she can afford to prepare fresh luxury items for the arrival of a new life every cycle. As the period or bleed appears, new eggs are woken. Everything you have seen here repeats. The cycle show starts again.
So adorable.
Really cute. That was cute.
I know, right? And like, I don't know, like for me, like it's biologically like accurate, like they're even kind of fitting in body awareness stuff that's not so widely known, but in an accessible way. So it's accurate, it's more information, but it's talked about in a really accessible way. So yeah.
And like we've talked about before, these conversations are not one-time conversations. And so like when you do something like this with your kids, you don't want to expect that, one, they're going to get all the answers right as they go through. Two, you don't want to expect that they're going to remember all the words or they're going to remember everything after you did it once. Like it would probably be more reasonable to say, you know, oh, we'll talk about this again another time, and then you can come back and circle back, and they'll, you know, the more repetition, the more they'll learn it. And then as life happens, as they get older, they can start putting pieces together of, oh, we watched this video about this, or read this book or whatever.
Right, right. So yeah, it's definitely a tool to kind of introduce concepts and not a thing where like, okay, we went through this. I am done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
You know it, and we're good. Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I I don't know. What do you think? What like I know the live presentation of the cycle show is geared towards, I don't know, maybe like 8 to 13, maybe 7 to 13, something like that. But I don't know, what age would you think about like even this thing just kind of clicking through it or whatever?
I mean, I guess it would probably depend on the kid, but I don't think that you can hurt by starting too early. Like my daughter is much too young to get it, but I could like click through with her and, she really doesn't do interactive like some people's kids do the games on the tablets and stuff. And I don't know if she doesn't get it or she just doesn't care, but we're not there. But like I wouldn't have a problem starting little. She's 2, almost 2. But I think if your kid pays attention well, maybe like 5, you could just start. And again, it's more having the building blocks and not mastery of the subject material. And it might be something that, some of it is about your comfort level and getting used to bringing it up and talking about it. And so if you're like, oh, my kid's 4 and I don't know, I'm just nervous about the whole thing, well, then it might be better to just start. And it probably won't go well at 3 or 4, but you can do it and then it's done. And then you say, okay, I did it once and I can do it again later. And
Exactly. Yes.
kind of build
Yeah.
the practice a little bit.
It's
But
a nice hand holding. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But every kid's different. And so this 5-year-old and that 5-year-old may not get the same things out of it. They may not sit still the same, like to pay attention, or that's not even really the right word, but they just may not grasp
Right.
things at
And
the same
like,
rate.
especially if you're just doing it one-on-one and like the kid is just not having it, they're not, interested in like, just let it go, let it be, and
Leave
you
it
can circle,
alone.
circle back at another time. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't be like, we're gonna sit down and do this right now. Like I wouldn't go that
Right.
route with this.
That's not gonna go over great. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I know that there is a lot of opinion on it, but I just don't think you can really start too young. Like, I just don't think that's a possibility. And some people would disagree and they think like you want to protect your child's innocence, or that's the phrase I've heard. May not be everybody's thought process, but to me, really, by not giving accurate information, you're actually more likely to damage their innocence because they're going to come across something that they don't need to come across, or something's going to be introduced to them and they won't even have words to explain what they saw or what they experienced or what happened. And so, we can agree to disagree if we need to, but from my perspective, I don't think you can start too early. I don't think there's a point that it's like, well, at 2, this is inappropriate, but at 3, it's appropriate, or anything like that.
Right. And like some of the language and sort of in programs like these that they use is like kids tend to protect what they value, and so like showing them the wonder and value in like their bodies, and how to treat it well, like what a lot of these programs have seen bear out is that they behave in a way to value their bodies more and protect their bodies more and things like that, rather than just thinking of their bodies as just for somebody else or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, this was super fun. And and if anybody sees this and has other questions about like, does it really do that? Like, I would love to hear those questions and things
I
like
was
that.
gonna say, like, I wasn't really surprised by anything, so I may not have been a good participant, but But that being said, there was stuff that I didn't know. Well, I probably couldn't have put it into the words that were said. Like I knew the general concept of all of it. But yeah, I'm not probably the best, the best one to sit here because I didn't have any questions.
No, but that's okay. Yeah, no, like for me, like doing these types of presentations for other people, like when I first went through this, I was like, oh, they're talking about that. And I was like, because like there's a lot of different things that like I get feedback on of like, oh, I didn't know about that. And oh, that's interesting. And so like they hit a lot of those points for me. So like just in general, as a parent, just, relax and go through the presentation, and like it does have sort of accurate information in there for you.
Yeah, so even with your kids, you can say, "Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Isn't that cool?" And then you can kind of get them, because then too, like I think like we said before, it's not about you have to know everything to tell your kids. It's okay for your kids to see, "Oh, mommy's learning too, or daddy's learning too, or whatever." Like there's no like facade you have to keep up that you know everything. That's not a thing. Like nobody knows everything. Even if you're a parent, you don't know everything, and it's okay if your kids know, oh, she didn't know that. So, it's good to instill in them that that mommy's still learning or daddy's still learning, we're still learning. And so if they come to you with a question and you don't know an answer, well, it's okay because, oh, I know she learns, she reads stuff, she watches stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, and modeling that skill of like, okay, let me see what I can find out about this, or how to research something, or that, like that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Even as a practice you could do, like you were saying, people can leave you a comment if they have a question, but even just say, I didn't know that, and then you can go research it yourself. Like what does the luteinizing hormone do? I don't know. That one wasn't in there, but like that's just a thing you could look up, right? So again, it's just the skill building for yourself. It's also foundation building for your relationship with your child. There's not a wrong way to do it unless you're not doing it. That's the wrong way to do it.
Right. Saying nothing is a decision, but like not the
right.
recommended decision. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Awesome.
All right. So I think that's it for today. And yeah, and we'll let us know if you have other topics you want us to discuss or things to take a look at, or yeah, we're very open. So great to chat with you as always.
Yeah. It was good. I'll see you next time.
Yeah.